football. We haven't been doing our football shows this week. Had a lot going on with the Become a Capper contest. We got a million excuses as to why we didn't do shows. And we always, there's always an excuse for not doing stuff. But the reality of it is that us doing the shows in the afternoons every day has kind of been pushing everything else to the side and spreading us a little thin. I've gotten a little bit more sleep. And, we had worn her down to the ground already, so she was already sick too. And of course, Tony's here with us every Friday, and he's doing the drive-through every day. It's 5 days of Ruffalo, which is no small task on its own. But we've made it to championship week here in college football, and we've also got week 13 of the NFL. So, a lot going on here. Joe and I haven't done our Circa and Westgate picks, so we can do those during this show as well. Kind of a combo show. And the dogs are barking. Tony, Lincoln Riley, so you're out in that area of the country. It's a private school, so it's not necessarily released all of the numbers. It doesn't have to be released. I haven't seen any numbers. I've heard 110 million. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. And, again, a lot of excitement out here with Riley coming over. But what we really need to address here is the defense. There's been a huge fall off here at USC with the USC defense. And I know Riley's a really good offensive mind, but, you're facing a lot of Pac-12 teams that can throw the football, move the football. And until he gets a team that can defend, and, of course, important thing here in USC is building up that offensive line. We saw how that can really impact the team's performance. We saw that with Michigan.
Well, we've seen some of the great defensive coordinators either get the head coaching job, so there's not a lot of these guys around, and you kind of have to pick and choose and build your own way up. Like, we see Marcus Freeman, 35 years old, getting the Notre Dame job. We're seeing, which is fantastic, to see them go that young. It's odd to see Notre Dame go that young, right? 35 years old. They had only limited places that they could go, right? Notre Dame. They could either go Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern. They could go David Shaw at Stanford, where they've had hideous luck in the past. What was his name? Ty Willingham. Yeah. They had, terrible there. And then, or to go with Freeman to go within. So maybe Luke Fickell. Right, maybe Luke
Fickell, and no one's talking about is that Utah coach Kyle Whittingham, because he builds that type of offense and defense on both sides of football.
But now it's down to the Oklahoma job, and which is available, and the Notre Dame job is filled. So there's the Oklahoma job. It'll be interesting to see what's up with Mario Cristobal, to see what finally happens there. But I think if Miami was going to make a move, you would think they would have already made it.
You would think so, right? All dominoes are falling. And I remember, I still have a concern when Cristobal left. Was it FIU? We never found out why. So that's my big concern. That's sort of some dirt under the rug there. I don't know what happened over there. He had a good program.
But he is an ex-Miami player. He's got the South Florida background. He coached under Saban. He kind of checks all the boxes. Miami loves, both the Dolphins and the Hurricanes. They love coming through that Alabama line of coaching. Don Shula's from the Bear Bryant line, so it's like, it all comes that way. And, it all started there. Howard Schnellenberger was from the Bear Bryant line of coaching, their first national championship. Just be interesting to see how that all shakes out. And if Manny Diaz, I don't see him going another year, but, you just never know.
Yeah. That's a tough one there in that ACC. We saw Clemson slip a little bit, so we're seeing two teams. We're seeing Pitt and Wake Forest in the ACC title game.
How about Will Venables to the Oklahoma job?
Yeah,
Brett Venables.
Brett Venables over there. I can see that as well. It's just Oklahoma. Again, that program has been right up the top of the Big 12, and we're seeing them this season here with some issues. Not even in this in the title game. It's Oklahoma State and Baylor. So that's a tough call there with that Oklahoma program, especially now with the recruits. They got to get somebody that can recruit and get some offensive talent for them.
Venables. You have Stoops from Kentucky for the Oklahoma job. So these are the main candidates that you would think, but they don't seem to be in any rush over there. Maybe they're waiting for some of these other games to end too to see where they can go. As far as maybe if they can get a Dabo Swinney, or something like that to go there, and I don't see it. I don't think Dabo Swinney would leave Clemson for the Oklahoma job. I just don't think that's a place he would go. I could see him taking Alabama job. I think he's waiting out Saban for the Alabama job. And
it's possible. And we just saw, Bronco Mendenhall, when he came into Virginia, it was a surprise when he left BYU for Virginia. We're going to see where he lands. It won't be a top job, not at 6-6 and a horrible defensive play at the end.
Yeah, once again, I thought it was surprising when he left BYU to me. BYU had Lavelle Edwards, who had been there forever, and then you had Bronco, and then now their coach once again, another guy. I think he's gonna be tough to pry out of there, but he's a guy that a lot of people are looking at. Once again.
Well, you got Houston coach. That's been a big team has shown improvement there on both sides of the football.
Dana Holgorsen makes top dollar, at Houston. Yeah. He's the highest paid Power 5 conference coach. He makes Power 5 conference money. Tillman Fertitta negotiated that deal, so
that's right.
He has the most. I don't know if he has the most money, but he has.
They can always raise it. They can always raise it at the perks. Did you see? It's Kelly's got 50 hours? Is it 50 hours a month or a year on the private jet for LSU? There's a lot of perks there.
How much does Tillman Fertitta have? I'll Google.
He lost a lot. He lost a lot in the pandemic because he didn't get it. He wasn't able to get the PPP because of how much money his business brings in.
He also had a divorce.
Yeah,
lost a lot there, but still has $6.3 billion left to work with. So somehow he'll manage.
Should be okay.
Yeah,
should hold up.
Should go. Yeah.
It's like and include that. I wonder how much the Rockets. The Rockets have to be worth $2 to $3 billion at this point on their own. He's number 158 on the Forbes list. Businessman.
But he's in the restaurant business. That's a tough business to be in, right?
He seems to know what he's doing, though. He's like one guy that really knows what he's doing. It's like those commercial restaurants you would never eat at, It's like he has right?
I know he does.
He owns
those are the ones they were the ones that were hardest hit.
Right. He owns all the restaurants, right, that you would never eat at, but
which ones?
He owns like Bubba Gump Shrimp. He owns
okay.
Landry's Seafood.
Landry's, that's the one I remember. Landry's, yeah, that's the one.
He owns the Jungle. What's it called? The Jungle one?
Rainforest. Yeah, Rainforest Cafe, I think they call it.
He owns,
they have one of those in Disneyland.
Right.
I've been to that.
Right. That's where you would go. That's where you would go to it, right? Is that like a Disney or something?
Yeah.
But it's not a place that you would normally go. They used to have one in Vegas at MGM. They took it out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What was that steakhouse they had over there under Landry's? There's a popular one. Oh gosh, name escapes me.
Oh, he owns the Golden Nugget.
Nugget, right?
No,
yeah.
Not the Golden Nugget. He does.
What?
He owns the Golden
Yeah,
Nugget.
because I remember that casino. They couldn't take action on the Rockets, right?
Yep.
Makes sense.
Because the owner, he couldn't take it.
Yeah.
Man, he owns a lot. But he owns Willie G's Seafood and Steaks. He owns McCormick and Schmick's Seafood.
Mm-hmm.
Bubba Gump Shrimp, Rainforest Cafe, Morton Steakhouse.
Morton Steakhouse is the one I could remember.
And owner of the Catch Restaurants. Vic and Anthony's, that's in Golden Nugget. They have that.
Yeah.
I go there. In Vegas, I go there. He owns Mastro's Steakhouse, too. So, I don't know. He owns a lot.
I still like Joe's and the Caesars, though. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, Joe's Stone Crabs?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I went there with Bobby, and he was like,
Yeah.
I got this. Don't worry about it. And I was like, Got like the jumbo, the 2 crabs legs for £1, you know, like the 2 gigantic ones. We got like everything. Oh man, it was so, we went nuts. We went crazy.
Oh, the bread basket's the best over there.
See, I was telling Joe Madden about that. She's a non-bread basket person. And that's what I told her.
Oh, you remembered. I was just going to change. You were like, I eat the bread. What are you talking about?
No, and I told her, I said, the bread basket at Joe's is like knock your socks off of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not allowed any now, Tony. So I made that mistake of saying I don't eat the bread. And then I was like, well, I'll try it at Joe's. It's like, no, you're not allowed. Oh.
Well, eventually we'll have a Vegas trip. Eventually it will happen.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, we will. It'll be a lot of fun.
But let's get to some of these games. You know, tonight we've got the Pac-12 Championship. We got Utah and Oregon just played just a couple weeks ago. And then UTSA and Western Kentucky going at it. Interesting matchups, you know, these two. Because you have the team that lost the first matchup in each of these sort of is expected, you know, almost expected to win, even though we see only 39% on Oregon. The line moving in the direction, you know, that the Ducks are being backed at the window.
Yeah, they are in the early kickoff here at Western Kentucky and UTSA. This will be played in UTSA's home field in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. So keep a look on the sites. Not all of these games are going to be played in neutral sites. Only on the Friday game, it's only going to be the Pac-12 game played on neutral in Vegas. But I like Western Kentucky a little more when they were up 1 point favorite. We've seen a line move here, 3.5. And mainly because it's UTSA's current form here over the past 3 games. I know they suffered the loss, but there were games leading to it. If you look at that Southern Miss game, Southern Miss is one of those bottom feeders in Conference USA. They struggled with them throughout the whole game, was able to get by with a 10-point win. And then 2 weeks ago against UAB, they needed a late touchdown to get the win there. And of course, North Texas ran all over them in UTSA's loss. But looking at West Kentucky, they've really improved their defensive play down the stretch, and I would lean them, but I like them a lot better when they're -1. At 3.5, it's really a no bet for me.
Joe, we talked about these this morning. Any change from where you were today?
No, I'm still leaning on Western Kentucky to cover. I do think just with their elite passing that they'll be able to get this done. I think it's going to be hard. It's going to be a battle. It's not going to be easy for them, but I think they win it by 4. So I'm with you. I liked it better when it was lower, but I'm still willing to take the -3.5.
And anything Pac-12? I like.
Yeah, in the Pac-12 game, I understand the money on this is usually a place where Utah spits out the bit, right? This is the game they choke every year, right? They choke it. Every year they choke. It's either quarterback injury or turnover. Not this year, though. I think this is going to be the difference. We saw Michigan win, right? We can have a change here. Whittingham is that Rose Bowl has eluded this program. And there was a lot of heat. I remember 10 years ago, and they were even giving Whittingham heat about not making the Rose Bowl. And there was some friction between him and his athletic director. But I think it's since mellowed out a little bit since Utah's been to a few of these Pac-12 title games. But I think now it's time for them to win. They've got the quarterback. Their defense is trending better. I'm not a big believer in Anthony Brown at quarterback in big spots and big games. And again, I've been really critical of the Oregon defense. We saw that come to light here when they in their first meeting. I just think there's a little bit more of a balanced attack here from Utah, and of course the Rising's play. When you look at his performance against Oregon, is really good. It's a good balance there of offense, run and pass. I would definitely look at Utah in this game.
We head into Saturday action, and we get started early. There's 2 games at noon. They space them out nicely, throughout the day. I don't like the way that they space them. I don't like the order of the games. I think that you could have had, this. I don't know. I think the Alabama-Georgia game should have been at night.
For sure. It should have been at night.
The Big 12 championship is normally early, or the Big 10 is normally early, and the Big 12 is normally at night. So maybe they just mix them up every year. But we have Oklahoma State, Baylor. This is a gigantic game. Oklahoma State took the first one, but Oklahoma State is the first one out. So if Michigan or Alabama or Cincinnati, if any of those 3 go down, Oklahoma State should be in if they win, and they would certainly deserve it. They have played well this season. Northern Illinois, Kent State, San Diego State, Utah State. San Diego State, a 1-loss team. They're ranked 19th in the nation. should tell you everything.
Crazy.
Louisiana against App State. Anything?
Yeah, I think with in this Baylor game, it's the quarterback Bohannon. He's been bothered by a hamstring. Hasn't done much in practice this week. You look at his performance over the past 2 games: 5.4 yards per attempt against Kansas State, 5.6 per attempt against Oklahoma's defense. When you look at the Cowboys here on defensively, outperforming Baylor a little bit here. I could only look here at Oklahoma State only because Bohannon has not performed well and he's dealing with that hamstring issue. That Kent Northern Illinois game, 2 bad defensive teams. But one thing that bothers me with Northern Illinois, they're giving up 6.9 yards per play. That's a lot of yardage per play. It's horrible here over there. And you look at the Golden Flashes, a little better, but not much better. But I would only lean there with Kent because Northern Illinois' defense is just horrible. With Utah State, San Diego State, I would look at the Aggies. I'm not a big believer of this San Diego State offense, although they did show up last week, but I don't think they're consistent enough to show up 2 weeks in a row, so I would look to take the points. And that App State-Louisiana game, I'm seeing App State defense getting back to that elite level we've been looking for. I would look for an under in that one.
Joe, how about you?
Yeah, these are all such great matchups. I'm kind of leaning on Baylor plus the points. So, I know that this is going to be a tough game for them, but I think they're going to be able to keep this tight enough. It's just at 5.5. I think that's too many for me. At 3.5, I would be totally all over Oklahoma State. I think they definitely get the win here, but not sure if they get the cover on that. I just think with this style of game, we're going to see a really hard defensive one in this. And then looking at that Kent State, Northern Illinois game, that is so many points, up to 74.5 right now. I think we go under in this. I don't like that one over. I think it's just going to be, it's going to hit 69, 70 at the most. I don't see it hitting 74.5 over that.
I could see it going to the moon.
You could?
Yeah, Northern Illinois.
It could go to the moon.
I could see
it's played indoors. It's played indoors in the Lions Stadium.
Yeah.
So it'll be
It'll be another final, and what I said in my video for this one, it'll be another team winning in that stadium that isn't the Lions.
Someone's got to win there.
Yeah, it's usually who the Lions are playing, but this time it's somebody else again. But I like the over in that one. I just think I mean both these teams, just no defense among them. I think on the other side, I like the under in that Oklahoma State Baylor. I think that's going to be, for Big 12, a conference that's been run and gun for so long, and the spread, it's going to be the low scoring. I don't know. I like Utah State against San Diego State. The line's going up and up and up, and I understand why. Utah State's played nobody. I mean, they've only beaten the nobodies. San Diego State at least is taking care of business, but 6 is a ton in that game. And then App State owes Louisiana beating. They owe them beating. They've lost them twice in a row now. And the last one, they really kind of, they fumbled it away, and the score got out of hand. So, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, that Kent State one, that is on a neutral site. I was just looking Northern Illinois. When we look at them at home, the games trend under, but this is a neutral site. So one thing I was forgetting when I was first looking at that.
Yeah,
and San Diego State will be playing at their home field in this one.
Yep, San Diego State is at their home field, and Cincinnati is at their home field. Louisiana at their home field against App State. So those are the ones that are at their own field. All the other ones are neutral.
Mid-majors, yeah.
Yep.
Except in the MAC.
It's odd that the Cincinnati game is there, but, both these teams headed to the Big 12 anyway. Cincinnati against Houston. Alabama's playing Georgia. Those both start at 4 Eastern time. And then at 8 Eastern time, Wake Forest and Pitt, Iowa, Michigan, and then the late-night bailout makeup game, USC and Cal. 2 4-7 teams headed nowhere. Senior day in Berkeley.
Yeah, sure is. In the SEC title game, I'm looking here at an under. I know Georgia's got a fantastic defense, but I think they're going to play it. I think they're going to play it safe, lean on the defense, not try and make mistakes here. I believe the better quarterbacks with Alabama, and I think Georgia knows that. And we've seen Georgia's domination of opponents, but I think they're just going to try and play that conservative style, run clock and lean on the defense. And Alabama's defense, not an elite defense, but still not bad. And I can see this game being really low scoring and tight. So I look at the under there. I like the dog in the Houston-Cincinnati game. Desmond Ritter's thrown an interception in 5 of his past 6 games. He threw 2 picks last week against East Carolina. And Tune has really improved his performance. Remember, as a freshman, he came in for that transferring player that went to Miami, who I can't remember right now his name, but he's been injured a lot. But anyway, he's really improved himself. He's completing 68% of his passes for 9 yards from pass attempt.
Derek King.
Derek King, that's right. Well, Tune got thrown in there and it was just a mess, but he's really improved his play. And this Panthers and Wake Forest game, this is neutral site. I look for an over in this game. And then, of course, Michigan, Iowa. Of course, you're always going to hear, oh, this is a letdown spot. I really believe that look ahead and letdown spots are overused. You got to come in with a little bit of supporting documents if you're going to use those stances here. But this is definitely a letdown spot for Michigan after that huge win. But one thing I like here with Iowa is their defense. Their defense can keep them in the game, and Michigan better be ready for a dogfight here. I think it's going to be a closer than expected game here. That's why I look to take the points. With USC, I told you there's no culture of defense over there. That game's going over.
It'll be interesting to see how the players are there. You would think that there'd be a good amount of transfers there. There'll be a good amount of, some guys playing for their job. But Lincoln Riley's got his own list, of players. So it's going to be, we haven't seen with the way the transfer portal is now, these major coaching moves. This is the first year because of the pandemic and everything. There was some coaching moves like in Texas, and stuff, but nothing like this where you see a massive shift of 4 or 5 of the biggest programs of the biggest. USC, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, all LSU, all shifting coaches. It's going. This will be a test of the transfer portal, which I believe the rules will be modified going forward. After this year, what we saw in college basketball, I mean, it is ridiculous.
Yeah, a bit ridiculous. And of course, Spencer Rattler was the next name in there in the transfer portal. Of course, there was rumors of him going to Arizona State, but Jaden Daniels is going to play his senior year for the Sun Devils.
Where does he end up? Spencer Rattler. Where does he end up?
That's a good.
Who wants him?
We've always been critical of the Golden Gophers having a horrible quarterback. I mean, they got to go to the transfer portal and they deserve to be they deserve to be a better team. It's the quarterback that has held them back. They got a really good defense. They've had bad luck with their running back. Their top running back's coming back next season after his injury. So look for the Golden Gophers to be hunting for a good quarterback. That could be a program to look at next season.
There'll definitely be a few. I'd be interested to see if Miami, the freshman that they have, Jake Garcia, if he enters the portal after everything Van Dyke did this year. It'd just be interesting to see because
Adrian Martinez hit the portal.
Yeah, well, where does he end up? He might end up at SMU or something. Both these guys might, with Brett Lashley.
Yeah.
Rattler at SMU, not a bad.
Oh, here's another transfer, Dylan Gabriel. I forgot about that. Was a big name too, Dylan Gabriel transfer. And it was only a collarbone injury, so he can recover 100%.
Wow, I didn't realize he transferred.
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel did transfer.
Florida State.
That's
where they go.
That seemed to make sense. Yeah, that was a big name last week that somehow got lost. Well, because there was so much action last week that got kind of lost in the shuffle. But that was a big name to hit the transfer portal. Was Dylan Gabriel.
That's where they go from there, though. Is Florida State. That's where they from UCF they go to Florida State. We saw Mackenzie Milton last year, and we'll see it this year. That's my guess.
And by the way, they added a bowl game. I don't know if you heard about that. So all 6 and 6 teams are eligible, and it does open the door for Hawaii to play in the Hawaii Bowl. There was the Red Box Bowl was canceled, but for some reason somehow they were able to create another bowl because the Red Box Bowl announcing in September they weren't going to hold a bowl game, so they were able to add another bowl game. So we're going to have all 6 teams in, and a team with a losing record. Everyone's pointing to Hawaii to play in the Hawaii Bowl.
All right. Well, Joe, what do you like in these games, these late ones?
You know what? I'm going to take a chance on Cincinnati. laying all those points. I just really do think when it's big games like this, they really show up, and they show up in a dominating fashion here. When we look at them against the Cougars are 1-5-1 against the spread in their last 7 meetings. I just really do think Cincinnati, maybe it's part that I really want Cincinnati to win this one, but I do think they pull it out. So give me them laying those points. I know it's a lot of points. I don't like that in these style of games, but I think they really can do it. They're 10-0 in their last 10 games, 6-4 against the spread. And then give me Wake plus the points. I think this is one, it's going to be a battle, and I think it's too many for Pitts to come out and cover. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Wake, and I think on a neutral site here, both these teams are going to be pretty even playing field, and I think Wake can cover it.
Tony?
Yeah, I gave you. Like I said earlier, I like the under in Alabama game, and
I'm
the
with
Houston
you there.
plus. Yeah, Houston plus the points, and I like the over in the Wake and Pitt game, and again with the Michigan-Iowa game, I talked about
all right.
this being like a letdown spot. I looked at the plus, and of course USC just go over.
I like the under in that Alabama-Georgia game also. I think it's going to be a smash mouth close to the vest. Saban assistants rarely do well against Saban, but this line just keeps going and going. You want to give Alabama 6.5 points? Be my guest. You know, I originally, when I first saw before the games last week, and Georgia was a 4-point favorite. I was like, I'm going to bet Georgia now, because I think the line's going to move. But boy, the more the week goes on and the more you look at it and the more everything, it's kind of like Kirby Smart's record against Saban, all these other coaches' records against Saban. It's not 6.5 points you're going to give to Alabama. Championship game. Nuts. I like the under, though. I like Houston, too. I think they're just playing well this year. They lost their first game. They've won 11 in a row. Nothing wrong there. Kind of like Cincinnati, choppy, when it comes to covering spreads, but they're winning games. So you can't really complain. I like Wake plus the points against Pitt. I think at 3, I liked it. At 3.5, I really like it. I think it's going to be a 3-point game, 3-point game. This could even be overtime. I could see that over also at 70. Between the two of this one and that MAC championship, we're talking over 20 touchdowns, to cover these two totals. And speaking of overs, I really like the over in the Iowa-Michigan game. I think it's aggressively low.
What's it at? My book has it off. I don't
43.5.
Wow, that's pretty low.
It's way low.
Oh, that's really low. Wow.
I just think they got a little ahead of themselves.
Spencer Petras is back, but his numbers haven't been anything to write home about at all for Iowa, the quarterback. No.
Well,
Michigan's special teams are so good. The kickoff return is so good for Michigan.
I like the way none of us want to acknowledge that the Cal USC game is actually going to happen. We got to go to the.
Well, I like the over.
I honestly wish they had the Army-Navy game this week and took a week off in between. I can't stand that Army-Navy being on its own day. It puts a lot of pressure on me as a handicapper, to be honest with you. It's like.
Well, ring them up, Mitch. Tell them to adjust that.
Yeah, well, it always was. They just changed it a few years ago. They just did this a few years ago. It's not like it's always been like this. I remember being in Vegas for the De La Hoya Pacquiao fight, whenever that was, and I was watching Army-Navy. It was on Championship Sunday because Turner Gill had blown with Buffalo the night before in the MAC championship game.
It was always the early game. It was always a noon Eastern game.
Yeah. It was always those early games.
So why did they move it? Was there a reason behind it?
I don't know.
Okay.
No idea.
Well, what happens is we had a lot of these. At first there was just a handful of these conference championship games. Then more and more were adding, and some of these MAC conferences, AAC, they were starting to starting to hit the major networks. There wasn't space on the network schedule to place the Army Navy game because now the CBS is televised a Mountain West title game. You got the MAC championship game. You got all these mid-major championship games now. I remember when there were only about a handful of championship games, Mitch, and we had a huge card on this week, right? There were a lot of games. At least 30.
Yep.
Because the Sun Belt played all their games, the MAC played all their games, the Pac-12 played all their games. You know, there was only like SEC in the early days. SEC,
the Big 12, and they had 12 teams then, the Big 12. Then remember the Big 12, they couldn't play the title game because they didn't have enough teams to do it. And that was the year that Baylor and TCU both got left out of the championship. And then Ohio State, who snuck into the championship, people said didn't deserve it over Baylor and TCU, ended up winning the championship that year with Urban Meyer, Ezekiel Elliott team.
Yeah, so when all the mid majors went to a title game, that kind of there wasn't space to put the Army Navy on a major network.
I don't know, man. To me, it's like it's too much to put it on its own day. I don't. I get it, and we could call it whatever it wants. Well, why isn't the Air Force, involved? Yeah. I don't see it. The Air Force is equally as important as the Army and the Navy. I know they don't get the credit, but
they play more exciting football too.
Yeah. Well, I think Army Air Force would probably be a better game than this. Navy's not good this year. No. Navy had a long time dominance, but
the number is up there already. I think it was Army -8 and the total 36.5. Well, remember the under has been like coming in like crazy with this. This is the lowest I've ever seen it. 36. I'm seeing 36 in some places now.
Wow.
Well, speaking of
16 to 20 game pushes or just goes under 36.5. Wow.
Speaking of not very good this year, we've got in our first 4 NFL games on the schedule for this week. We have the Dolphins playing in one game against the Giants. We've got the Lions playing the Jets and the Texans all in the same time slot. So we got the Dolphins.
Oh, which will you watch?
Dolphins, Giants, Texans, Colts. Those Colts. That coach.
Oh,
I just knew we were gonna lose.
Your
Carrie
wife
didn't know that I had shown that to everybody.
She didn't?
No, she found out on Facebook, like someone had messaged about another post, and she found out like that I had actually shown the clip on the air.
Uh-oh. Were you in trouble?
Colts. That coach. I told everyone on my show. I told everyone. But so we've got the Eagles, Jets, Lions, Vikings, Dolphins, Giants. So the Dolphins were 1-7 a few weeks ago. Now they're 5-7. They got the Giants here. They win this one. They're a game under 500 with the 17-game schedule. They're all of a sudden, with the way the AFC East is looking, Buffalo playing New England, all of a sudden they're back in the mix, and they have a home game against New England where they own them. And, they've got the schedule definitely tougher than what they've seen recently, but certainly the path is there all of a sudden.
It is, and it got easier just an hour ago as word came out that Daniel Jones is out with a neck injury. So we're getting Mike Glennon under center. If you notice, the line moved now to 6. I would lay up to a touchdown with the Dolphins here. Big injuries here for the Giants. Their Sterling Shepard questionable, likely not playing. Jones out with a neck injury, and Kadarius Toney doubtful. Miami did acquire Philip Lindsay for depth at running back.
I like the pickup. The Dolphins don't really have any star at running back, and I don't think Lindsey fits that mold either, but I think he fits the team, and I think that's the important part. But
I'm with you guys on the Dolphins here. I really think they get the job done. They get the cover and everything. I think it's going to be a great game. And you know what? I think that total is just a little bit too low now, too. It opened at 43.5. I think the Dolphins will put up a lot of points in this one. It's 39.5 right now. I think we're going over that. What do you think, Mitch?
I think the Jets just suck. I'm just looking at that game, and it's like I could see the Dolphins. I mean, to me, that's the lines moved 3.5 points at this point, so it's like you almost have to be a little leery there. And normally this time of year, the Giant fans are all invading Florida in between that Thanksgiving and Christmas time. But man, the Jets touchdown dogs at home against the Eagles. That could be just the ugliest game out there. The Eagles, while they played decent recently, I mean, they're still just a 5-7 team. Same record as the Dolphins,
Yeah, and Gardner Minshew is splitting reps right now with Fields because Fields is questionable with his ankle.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't like that one. I don't like that game at all. What do you guys think of Indianapolis and Houston? I'm really hoping that everyone agrees with me that the Texans need a huge loss here. I'm thinking Indy comes out, big win. I'm taking the minus the points. I know it's tons, but I'm biased. I need Houston to lose and lose terribly. They're 1-9 in their last 10 games.
Oh, this is what everyone knows what I think.
Coach, I just knew we were going to win. It's going to be the worst beat I've ever had.
Again, I look at the injury reports can really set you down the path to start handicapping these games. And I think here I would lean Colts because Houston's running back David Johnson's banged up. The 2 starting receivers are banged up for Houston. 3 of their starting defensive linemen and a corner questionable. So we're looking at a lot of backups and key roles here for Houston. I could only look at Indy in that game.
Yeah, I hope they crush them. Sorry, Texan fans. I have Texas to be the worst in the league, and the Lions aren't helping me there. So really need them to.
It's okay because the Lions usually get their draft picks wrong. So you'll get the second pick and you'll get the better player. So you'll be in good spot.
Yeah, I just had I took a future on the Houston Texans at plus 2,800 to be the worst team in the league. So the Lions are going to come in as that.
Yeah, having the second pick in the draft isn't a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Well, the Dolphins have they traded that first round pick to the Eagles, and it's getting worse by the week. For a while there, it was the second pick in the draft, and now that they've won all of these games, they've gotten out of that range. And the Dolphins, the way they looked at it last year was that we're a game from missing the playoffs, and Waddle will be the guy to put us over and get us in, and so we don't have to worry about this pick. But it was dicey there for a little bit. I think Tua is a lot better than people give him credit for. A lot better.
Oh, absolutely.
When he's healthy, he could really throw that football far. I mean, on a rope.
He just needs to stay healthy.
I mean,
the defense needs to play like they should be playing. That's other help.
There was a time that they were saying that remember they were saying that the Dolphins were tanking that year to get Tua. Right? And it's like,
tanking for Tua.
Yeah, remember that? Yeah. And then they get him at number 5. And it's like, now it's like, oh, he sucks. But I don't think he does. I wanted Herbert at the time. I'm not gonna say I didn't, but I think this guy certainly has all the tools, and he's been injured, most of the time. So we don't really know what he is, but the reality is that his record as a starting quarterback is pretty damn good. And you want a guy who's a winner. It's like the same thing I thought about Mac Jones in New England, that he was the choice. He should have been the choice in San Francisco. Here's a guy that's a winner. Meanwhile, you got, Trey Lance, that they traded up for. He can't even beat out Jimmy Garoppolo. That's a problem.
Yeah, that was a bad draft pick.
Yeah, horrid.
You're not a believer of Minshew, Mitch? We didn't follow up on that. I should have asked you that.
Gardner Minshew?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, no. Not a fan. Washington State?
Yeah.
Don't see it. I know Chris Ruffalo, your drive-through co-host, loves Jaguar backups and former Jaguar backups. It's like you get him in the Minshew Jake Luton conversation. It's like that will take the whole show,
Yeah, I like the over the Vikings. This is your Red Cross game, Vikings Lions on defense. I mean, these teams are missing tons on the. You're going to see a lot of backups for the Vikings and Lions on defense. I could see a lot of points in this one.
I see a path to the Lions going winless this year. The path is now there. Before it wasn't. I mean, they have the tie, so it's not going to be the worst season ever. But it's like I see the path to 0 wins.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that Thanksgiving game was a must-win of all must-wins.
Yeah, and they couldn't win that, so they're not doing anything for the rest.
But they got the
season.
tie in. They're not going to lose 17 games though. They're guaranteed that.
It could have been the worst.
It's
season.
still. You might as well have lost tying. I know.
Got the Bears and the Cardinals, the Bengals and the Chargers, the Falcons and the Bucks, and Vegas against Washington. Joe's been a diehard on Washington this season. Joe, what do you think of these 4 games?
Well, I don't like Washington in this situation against the Raiders. I don't think they stand a chance here. I think this Raiders team, they've had their ups and downs and problems on and off the field, but only -1 for the Raiders coming out against the Washington football team? I don't think so, especially at home here in Vegas. I'm a huge believer in Vegas when they're at home. I think they get pumped up by their crowd. I know their record's only 3-3 at home. They're 2-4 against the spread, but not against this Washington team. This is a game where Vegas comes out and gets the win and the cover on this. And then, I don't know. I think I'm going to have to lean on Tampa Bay to cover that huge spread. It's so many points, 10.5, but this is against the Falcons, and we haven't been seeing very much out of the Falcons at all this season. The Bucks are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games in week 13. And we look at this Falcons team, they're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 following a straight up win. I just don't think they can do it.
Yeah, they're miserable, the Falcons, to watch, and it's for sure. They've been terrible.
Yeah, I would look at the Chargers here plus the points. But the Bengals, they got issues on the line. They've got their center and right tackle banged up, both questionable here. And I love misery this week. I'm going to look at the Falcons. The Falcons have 4 starters on defense banged up, questionable, including 2 on defensive line in that one. And I would that Washington Vegas game, 2 key injuries on the Raiders, Jacobs and Darren Waller. That's why you see the line so low in this one. But I'm still a little bit nervous taking Washington football team on the road.
Yeah, I like Washington in that one. I think the Raiders are in big trouble this year. I think Washington is starting to make that move that we expected them to have at the beginning of the year. I'm gonna have to disagree with Joe on that one. And I don't know. Give me the Cardinals against the Bears. We haven't. It's like the Cardinals must have been off last week or something. I feel like we haven't seen them play in months.
Yeah, I feel like the same thing.
Question was it
the last time we saw them was against the Packers, right?
Yeah, I think there were 2 teams on byes last week.
Chiefs
because they didn't have.
Chiefs were one.
And it might have been the Cardinals. Let's see. I don't remember the Cardinals playing last week, unless it was a Thursday. No, it wasn't. They didn't play on Thanksgiving, so they were the other team. Then.
They must have been off, but
Yeah.
It seems like the Bengals are one of the tougher teams to handicap out there. Just not sure what they're going to do, and they're playing against the Chargers, who are the other tough team to handicap.
Yeah,
the Chargers could win.
I'm not betting my team ever again. It breaks my heart 2 ways when I do.
When you play the Chargers, you need to have a healthy offensive line because of that front 4. That's the key there for me with the Bengals injuries at center and right tackle.
The Chargers could come out and It's like I lost my sound. The Chargers could come out and blow them right out of the water. They could get run over by 40 points. It's like we don't know which Chargers are going to show up. They're not losing.
Story of their lives.
They're not losing the weird games anymore, though. They're just either losing or not losing, which is, I guess,
is it a step in the right direction when you're not losing by like just the weird almost one, but.
It's a step in a direction.
They're taking a step in the wrong direction.
It's a step in a direction.
True.
It's sideways.
At least we're not getting that illegal shift anymore.
You're sidestepping is what you're doing.
Painful.
The Shank field goal. the Chargers of the shank field goal, the missed extra point, the Chargers are the type of team that like they score like the go ahead touchdown or something like at the end of the game, and they're the ones that like get the snap. They mishandle the snap. The guy holding the snap goes to throw it. The other team runs it back for the 2 points, and they lose by 1. Right? It's like that's the Chargers. It's like
it is.
That's how they lose. It's like they find these odd ways to lose. Them and the Vikings. They just find these ways to lose, which is just unbelievable. But we've got the Rams against the Jaguars. The Rams, a couple weeks ago, this is the NFL. The Rams, it's like a couple weeks ago, world beaters. Now it's like, oh, man, they got Matthew Stafford. It was like, they got Matthew Stafford as a quarterback. Now it's like, oh, man, they got Matthew Stafford as a quarterback. See, everyone thought like that they had pulled off this great coup in getting Matthew Stafford. Like it was this great deal, whatever. He stinks. He's part of the problem. He has all of the tools. It's not. So did the guy from Oklahoma. What was his name? He was the number 1 overall pick that year. Though he was Heisman winner. He went to the
Vikings. He went to the Vikings.
Well, he was on the Rams also.
Yeah, he was on the Rams and Vikings. His shoulder. He got.
But he had the same thing. He had all the tools and could make all the throws and all those things. Just can't win football games, and that's the problem, And you got the Steelers and the Ravens. These teams hate each other's guts, but the Steelers, this is the worst they've ever looked that I can remember under Tomlin. They looked terrible last week. Then you've got the Seahawks against the 49ers, and the Seahawks, this is the worst that they've looked in years. And there was talk of Pete Carroll, taking one of these college jobs. We haven't heard anything that he's denied. He's turned anything down at this point. And Kansas City against Denver Sunday night. All of a sudden, the Chiefs are 7-4, and we're looking at the State Farm Insurance Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. And then you've got Buffalo and New England, an AFC East matchup, and the Bills favored in this one, lightly favored. But both these teams, 4 losses, the Patriots have not had their bye week yet. My guess is next week is their bye, and that'll be it. That'll be that for bye weeks. But the Patriots, 8-4 now. That opening loss to Miami, 5-0 on the road. The Bills just 3-2 at home. This is about as big as it gets. The loser goes to 5 losses. There's no comfort there. Tony, what do you think of these games?
Yeah, in these games here, looking at the Ram game, I could only look at the Ram side, but I don't trust them winning this many points. Bradford, that's what it was. Bradford. Ravens Steelers dealing with injuries here. We got 3 starters on defense out for Pittsburgh, a nose tackle, linebacker, and corner. And then we've got the corners for the Ravens injured. So that game, I'm going to wait until I need more injury information before I make a decision there. This Denver team is really banged up. Melvin Gordon questionable with a hip and shoulder. Both offensive tackles and guards are questionable. The defensive end and corner. There's a lot of injuries on the Denver side. I could only look at KC and a blowout in that one.
Do you think the worst loss of the season was the Denver against Philly? It was probably the worst loss of the entire season. It was to me, that was one of those games where it was like, how do you lose it? All of a sudden, it's one of those tight games. It's close to the vest. It's like everything's right there. Phillies, they're setting the pace. They get out 10-0. Denver reels them back in. They score 10, no problem. Then it's 20-10, and here they are 20-13. Denver, has got the ball. They're moving right down the field, doing exactly what they've been doing all game, matching them, and they're at home. So, you're going to get in this tight game at home. That's where you want to be. You got a good kicker, and so you're probably going to hit the field goal to win the game. They go for it on 4th and inches on the 20-yard line. They're on the 20 of the Eagles. The guy fumbles. They run it all the way back for a touchdown, and it goes from a touchdown game to 2 touchdowns, and it's game over. It was like that was about as bad as it gets.
Yeah, and and it's going to be tough here with 4 offensive linemen banged up here for Denver. and a defensive end and corner. So that's a tough spot there going into KC in this spot. And one note here with the Seahawks, 3 of their starting offensive linemen are banged up and questionable. So that you got to keep an eye on that.
Oh, yeah. 49ers are playing better football than the Seahawks right now as well. I wouldn't touch the Seahawks, even with the points here at home. They're just not the Seahawks team that we're used to seeing. And then, you know what? I don't want to say it, but I think I will. I'm going to take the Jags plus the points here against the Rams. This Rams team, looking at their stats, 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 games and 0-5 in their last 5 as a favorite. I just don't trust them to cover 13 points. I think it's too many. I think they absolutely come out and get the win, but not by 13. And then I'm with you guys. Give me KC, I think, to get a nice, big, huge win here at home. And divisional rivals, and KC loves to make a statement against divisional rivals. So I think they'll do it, especially with the injuries on Denver.
You know, there's one thing with Andy Reid team we've seen with these Chiefs is they get better and better as we get deeper and deeper in the season. I think we're seeing that.
I hate it. Yeah.
They do that all the time.
I see that Mike Glennon listed as the starter for the Giants.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh,
That's what we said.
Someone's paying full price admission to go watch that crap. You know?
Yeah, that just came across right before the show started with the Daniel Jones neck injury.
I knew Jones was out, but I had forgotten it's Mike Glennon. It's like, oh my God. He is terrible.
When was the last time we saw him play? Because the name doesn't even register in my head.
He's played recently. He played on the Monday night game, I believe, for the Giants, right?
He did?
Daniel Jones was out. He's been out.
Yeah, he's been out. Yeah, Jones has been
so
out.
he is the regular backup.
Oh, yeah.
His name is just not setting off any light bulbs.
He was a backup to Ryan in Atlanta for a while, and then someone thought he should have been a starter somewhere.
Yeah, Tampa. He went to Tampa. He was the starter. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. It was terrible at NC State. It's like I bet against them in college. I bet against them everywhere. You know, it's like I follow these guys.
Sometimes, you know, I had who did I talk to? I think we're talking with Chris before on the drive to about this, about players. Why you scratch your head? Sometimes they just know the plays, right? The guys the people they hire may not they don't understand, they don't know the playbook. But if you have less talent but you know the plays, you move ahead on the depth chart sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's the Joe Flacco syndrome. In baseball, It's like you can throw it lefty, you know, or switch hit. You know, so it's like you could have one player instead of 2, you know, and you could have another player, you know, that does something else. It's like if you have a guy that switch hits, it's the same thing. Like if I had a kid that was, 5 years old or something, man, I'd teach him how to switch hit and have, moderate fielding skills.
Yeah, because in the NFL you can no longer shorten the playbook. It's bad because that means the defenses know what you're doing. So it's going to be very complicated. And sometimes these players, they don't understand the plays. They can't understand the defense, can't read defenses. It's too complex for them. So sometimes the guy with the smarter brain moves ahead than the guy with the better overall talent.
Well, the big public teams this week is the Vikings, 92% of the money and 67% of the bets. The Tampa Bay Bucks is 51% of the bets, 46% of the money. So that they would be the public play there. Denver.
These guys gonna look. They got to look at injury reports. These people aren't looking at injury reports.
Denver 70% and 92%.
Oh,
Indianapolis.
Look at the injury reports, people. Jiminy.
It's also early. A lot of people bet late. I mean, in Vegas, the longest lines at the sports book are the hour before the game. This is what I always tell on our show, on our morning show. The thing I always say, and people always ask about parlays and all that other stuff. I said, the parlay cards are bright red, pink, bright green, bright yellow. They stick them right next to the cash register, just like the Snickers bar at Walmart. It is exactly the same thing. It's like they have them right there for a reason. Come take a look. Little pencils, little pens right there, right? It's like, here, come on in. Have a parlay card. It's like.
The biggest change in my handicap, Mitch, over the past couple of years, I used to look at the matchups. You know what I do now? As I take notes of the injury report now, in the NBA as well as the NFL.
Well, we have the latest.
That's where I start.
We have the latest, greatest injury report at Sports Chat Place. It tells you exactly how many hours ago it was updated or how many minutes ago it was updated. It tells you all that information, who's playing, who's not playing, pictures, you name it. I don't think there's a site out there that has faster updates than we do at Sports.
And I'll give a tip out there. People check out college basketball. Look for the point guards that get injured. They have a huge impact in the games.
It's everything. It's everything. That's why Illinois, was a non-play before, and they won even without their guards, which is scary.
When you handicap NFL and NBA, you got to start with the injury report. That's a tip I'll give you all you guys.
I always look at defense first.
Yeah.
I always look at defense. Let me see the injuries for this players. Melvin Gordon did not participate in practice. Well, the NFL has not been updated because they don't play today. So
the practices, once the practice is over, they'll get the updates.
Yep. 19 hours ago for the NFL. Anything else on any of these games, Joe? Monday Night Football, Patriots, Bills?
No, nothing else really, to be honest with you.
Bob Jones University versus
setting
Presbyterian?
up my you caught me setting up StreamYard for the soccer show because I know these guys are waiting. So
all right.
I'm sorry, you caught me off guard there.
We'll wind it down then. We know that
I will make one note on this Buffalo. I want to see how Buffalo plays without their all-pro corner that got hurt last week. That's a huge injury there for Buffalo.
All right. Well, we don't want to keep Gorin and Ashley waiting too long. We know how Ashley gets. You don't want to get on her bad side. Well, Gorin.
It'd be Gorin I'd be worried about.
Gorin needs all the help he can get over there. It's like, yep. I like that we're kind of dialing in on soccer. It's something that we kind of hung out there for a while. We have had Gorin on the drive-through, since we've started the drive-through, and now adding Ashley, I think was the right move. Of course, Joe Madden mixing up with them, but we're looking for our next. Probably the Joe Madden replacement on the soccer show through our Become a Capper contest. I'm really excited. I've been looking through those videos, and like I said this morning, I got my camera to help you guys. Got this auxiliary camera so I can show you guys, how I set things up here. How I get these different colored lights and all this different, things going on. And, anyways, well, that wraps it up. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have an awesome day. We appreciate each and every one of you. Be sure to smash that like button and be sure to stay tuned for the soccer show with Joe Madden, Ashley, and Gorin in just a couple minutes. And, of course, the drive-through with Tony T. Ashley went 4-0 on her premium picks again. Wow. She has hit 10. She's 10-0-1 in her last 10 picks. I just said it, Hannah. I just said it. It's like she's getting all pushy on me. I said it. Nice. 10-0-1 in the last 3 days. Yep. She's really good. I'm so excited to have her here. She's awesome. I knew she was gonna kill it. So I'm not I'd be more surprised if she was, if she was 7-3, I would, than 10-0-1. I mean, Joe even, Joe's not a soccer person. He's just like, here's someone that really knows their stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell.
And it's not that she just really knows her stuff. It's that she knows the right bet, right? It's like, It's not just picking the winner of the game or anything like that. There's a right bet in there, like to score both halves, to do this. This guy, I don't like this game, but this guy's going to score a goal, Really, really good stuff. All right. We'll see you guys next Friday. Have a great week, and Tony will see you in a few minutes, and Joe will as well. Have a great night.
Absolutely.
I'll see you guys tomorrow morning on our weekend show. First Saturday of kind of what
December.
Grab bag.
Yeah.
We have our soccer show tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. too. Chris Ruffalo hosting.